Right, so if you've been on the internet within the past couple of days, you've probably heard of the what's in the rug situation. It is quite literally the biggest thing on TikTok right now, like by far. And it all started from this account right here, Katie Santry, with 1.9 million followers, who just a week ago, like before the situation happened, had less than 10,000 followers. And if we just scroll down a page right now, you can see just how many views these videos are getting, right? Like 3.2 million, 5.7, 8 million, 10 million. Like, these videos have went extremely viral. Now, like most people, I've been keeping up to date as to what's happening here, but I didn't want to talk about it originally in case of the worst case scenario in this situation. It's not something that needs to be on the MARKIE channel, let's be honest. But now we finally do have answers in this situation. Obviously, by the fact that I'm even making a video about this, you can probably already guess it's not the worst case scenario, thankfully. But I thought it's definitely worth talking about the situation because there's so many videos to kind of like keep up to date with. I thought doing a summary would be quite good, and it was such a big situation. So let's start from the beginning. So this actually started 5 days ago when Katie uploaded a video saying that she believes her house is haunted, and the reason for this because some things in her office were moving around. And then she also mentions that she was digging in a garden and she found a rug buried underground.
I think my house is haunted and I'm freaking out. Like, I'm literally shaking. This is my sunroom. This is where I work. I sit here every day. There's a playroom here, doors here. This is the space. I'm down this morning to work. The screen shattered. This stuff down here. This hanging off. But the fucking kicker for me is that this that only goes on this shelf and only goes on this shelf ever up here. But important information. So we're building a fence. And back here, we dug a hole. There is a rolled up carpet buried underground that we came across as we were digging this hole. Rolled up carpet. Who the fuck and why the fuck?
And then the next video actually shows the carpet or the rug. Here it is right here. You can see there's clearly some type of rug or carpet buried under the ground. And then this is where the coincidences get even more bizarre, and they get a lot more bizarre even further on, like the further we get with the story. But obviously up to this point, her laptop is smashed, things have been moved around, she's found this rug underground, and then she comes to a realization that a tree that's been planted right next to the hole where the rug was found is a blood good.
Okay, so a tree was planted above the rug, and it is called a blood good.
And then I think at this point, because so much is going on, she started like noticing loads of other stuff that she probably wouldn't even think twice about before, and like it's kind of like tying it to the story, because she then goes on to tell a story about how her stepson charged his phone overnight, but then when he woke up, the phone wasn't charged.
Hey, like, this is so weird. When I went to bed, my phone was at 100% on the charger, and he woke up and it was at 3%. And now I have all these people saying that, like, ghosts steal energy, and that's, like, how they fuck shit up.
Look, I'm not exactly an expert on ghosts by any means. I've never heard that they steal phone batteries. Maybe they do. And if we look at the comment section of this video, people are coming up with, like, crazy scenarios that could have happened here, right? So we got comments like, a ghost did not plant a tree and break your PC. You need a camera, someone broke in. Go check your attic. Could be someone living up there. Sounds crazy, but it has happened. Now, I'll be honest, as this was all happening, my first initial response to this was that there's a lot of coincidences happening that she probably wouldn't have tied together if it wasn't for this big situation happening with the rug. But with the rug itself, I assumed it was like a pet that someone had, like the previous owners had, and buried the pet. That's what I assumed. Turns out I was wrong. But this is where the story starts getting a little bit more serious, because she actually rings the police and they say they're going to come out and have a look at it.
I finally did it. I called the police. They're sending someone here.
And as we can see here, the police did show up. They started looking at the hole, they're searching around it. You can see the text on screen says at this point they started talking about calling homicide. But then what ultimately happens is the cops call like their higher ups to see what they can do, and they say they can't do anything, and it's up to Katie if she wants to actually dig up the hole and find out for herself.
Basically, what was decided is that they cannot put resources into something that they don't know what it is. And it is up to me if I decide that I want to finish digging it out. And if there's something there, I can call them.
Which, look, that's probably true. If there's not enough evidence, there's nothing they can probably do. But putting her in a situation where she has to decide between digging up a garden and potentially finding a dead body, she's obviously assuming at this point, or just living with the fact that there could be a body there and you're not actually going to look and find out for yourself, it's a weird situation to be in. Now, at this point, we get even more coincidences because the police apparently told Katie about a neighbour that had passed away previously, like, on this street, and that house where the lady apparently lived had just been boarded up on the day of all of this happening.
While the police were here yesterday, looking at the carpet and deciding what to do, he mentioned that he was the one who came when the next door neighbor died. My neighbor died in their house, and she can't haunt. a house that is literally destroyed, right? Like, who the fuck is she gonna haunt? That's no fun. That would be boring. Why not haunt the next door neighbor? The same day that my computer gets broken and my desk gets strewn about, they started boarding up the dead lady's house.
Now in the next part, we find out the daughter of the couple who owned the house previously says that they never buried any pets in the garden.
The realtor has talked to the daughter. The daughter does not know what the rug is. She also asked her about dead dogs and cats and hamsters, and she said they had many dogs and they were all cremated.
Now at this point, the situation gets even more wild because Katie gets a phone call of homicide who want to bring out detectives and dogs to have a look at the area and see if there is something that's worth investigating here.
I just got off the phone with homicide. They just called me. They are sending detectives and cadaver dogs here in the next hour.
Now this next video is the video that was uploaded that pretty much convinced most people that the worst case scenarios happened here, because both dogs actually separately walked around the area and both sat to signal that there is something at this area. Okay, so here's the first dog, obviously like sniffing around and sits down. You can hear like the shock in the background. Here's the second dog, obviously going separately, having another sniff around. And yeah, that dog sits as well. Now the problem with this obviously is that dogs are dogs, so they're not going to be right 100% of the time. And it could also be something like a nosebleed, like previously on the carpet, whoever had the carpet before, and they could be like smelling the blood from that. That's what the police later say anyways, but obviously at this point people are pretty convinced. I mean, you have got people in the comments saying stuff like, my husband used to be a police officer. I asked him if he thinks it could just be blood splatter, etc. He said dogs only sit for the smell of decay, not just blood. I don't know if that's true, right? I'm obviously not an expert in this field by any means. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, nothing was found. Now at this point it's the next day, which is today as I'm recording this video and potentially uploading this video as well. But as we can see, there's a series of videos. They show like the CSI team is around there. They start digging up the hole. It's also worth noting that news teams were showing up to this. I saw like ABC 6 news station, I believe it's called, was live streaming on YouTube whilst this was all happening. Just kind of like recording from a distance with like no commentary. There was over 100,000 people watching. I even saw that one of her neighbours was live on Facebook and had 50,000 people watching that. But either way, the next update that we get is that they've actually brought an excavator.
Okay, and we have an excavator. Trying to not break my fence, which would be greatly appreciated.
And then finally we get some answers, and the positive ones. There was nothing there.
They have recovered the hole, and this has been the most absurd, insane experience of my life. What did they find? No, they didn't find a body. They found a mother effing rug with some rubber. The question remains of why did the dogs hit? I don't know.
Which of course it goes without saying is the best possible scenario here. I wouldn't have made this video otherwise. As regards to the dogs that she mentioned here, she does actually speak to one of the officers who gives his thoughts, although he mentions like this isn't his field.
I guess my main question is why did both dogs sit in that spot?
So we don't do the dogs.
Okay.
It's not the Columbus Police Department.
Okay.
So that's something expertise wise they have, training and skills, whatever, their certificates, they would be able to best explain that. From what I understand, I think I told you this earlier, if somebody years ago had a nosebleed that went on that carpet,
That's so crazy.
they get sent to that. So it's just hard to tell. That
So-
could have been it. Who knows?
Did the carpet go with you?
Yeah,
I assume?
the carpet is going with us.
Okay.
And that is the situation. There was nothing there. It was just a rug. I don't know why it was there. Maybe however many years ago when they were building on this like land, there was just like a bit of a piece of rug there. They decided to build over the top of it for whatever reason. I imagine that this being an absolutely wild few days for Katie, like not knowing what's going to happen, being very unsure about the situation like at her home. I can't imagine what that would be like. And it's also pretty much been the biggest thing on the internet. Tens of millions of views on a lot of the videos. She's obviously gained basically 2 million followers from this. It's been a massive situation. Thankfully, though, there's good news at the end of it, and there was nothing there. It was just a rug. But either way, I would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below on everything that we spoke about in today's video, and I'm going to leave it there. So if you did enjoy, please leave a like on it, subscribe if you are new, and until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.